Okay, we are live.
Yay.
Yes, I want to welcome everyone to the next segment of A Day of Light and Love. It's something that we've done for the last 8 years, bringing, oh, just really, really profound conversations from people that are around the world. You're in Canada, Sophia, and
I
you're the
am.
youngest contributor, which is really amazing because you embody so much wisdom. But I really want you to introduce yourself, if you could, to the audience because not everyone may know who you are.
Of course. Yes. Thank you, Jeannie, for having me here. Merry Christmas to everyone who's listening. It's such an honor to be here in this big tradition. We were just talking about traditions as we were of the year when we were not live. And I couldn't be happier to be part of this moment and this day where Jeannie basically organizes a lot of people to come and deliver messages, which I find so beautiful. My name is Sofia Montero. Some of you already know me, others don't. Uh, I'm basically a full-time witch. That's how I like to call myself. But I work with astrology, I work with tarot, and I like to bring these mystical tools into our everyday life and show people that every single thing we do as human things, it's magic, and it's a connection to the spiritual world, a connection to yourself, and how you can bring these practices into life and just have them as something very close to your heart and just living with intention. So that is basically what I do, what I like to share about. But yeah, it's such an honor to be here, Yini. Thank
I
you.
love the way that you phrase that, living with intention, because I've learned a lot of things about the tools that you use through our work together. You've supported me with my online pursuits, and we've co-created
Yeah.
um, on a on things before, and I've learned a lot from. I have a different perspective. Let's just say that I see things through a different lens, but the intentionality is the thing that
It is.
I mostly see as the theme of Sophia.
Well, thank you. I love that you see it that way. I'm trying to think, how long ago did we met? Like, how long? Like, I remember when I first met you, I was so young. People still say I'm very young, but I don't feel that young anymore.
How old are you, Sophia?
I am turning 29 in a few days. Not a few days, like 15 days or 10 days, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
I don't I would like to say,
6 years maybe or more.
yeah, I think, were you in college then? Were you in university?
Yeah, when we met, I was in university, so maybe it's more. I went into university at 19,
Yeah, I think I've known you at least
like for 9 years.
8 years. I want to say 9 years. Yeah.
Wow, it's been a long
Yeah.
time.
But I've
And
known you better in the last few years, I would say, because we've worked more closely together.
yeah, in the last 5 years or 4 years, we've
Yeah.
started working more closely together. I agree on that. But
Yeah.
yeah, I feel like I've known you for a while, but at the same time, I haven't known you for a long time, and time has passed so fast. And I feel
Yeah.
like that happens now with everything. Like the years tend to pass so fast. For example, I was thinking yesterday, I got married this year on the summer, and I didn't remember that I got married this year. I felt like I got married such long time ago. And then I
It
was
was
like,
just a
that was like
summer.
4 or 5 months ago.
It's so funny. Oh, I love that. But time takes on a different velocity or something as we get older.
It does. It does
Mhm.
definitely. And there's some connections that they're so profound, and they're that you feel that those profound connections have been with you for such a long time, even though it's been a short time. Like it's what happens to me with my husband, right? I feel like I've been married forever to him. Like I just recognize him and I recognize us. So when I think about my wedding, it's like, oh yeah, it was like 6 months ago. But yeah, it's been an interesting year. I think last time that I saw you, which was the Day of Light and Love, I was talking about finding the life mission and all of these things. And then today, after this year, like for me, 2024 was a bunch of roller coasters. The year started, I was very excited. I was like planning my wedding, picking a date. Then all of my wedding planning started to happen. And it was for me like go, 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 go through the entire year. I always tell people, and I don't like to sugarcoat this, for me, planning a wedding was one of the most anxious times of my life. Like I was living under so much anxiety of I want everything to be perfect. I got married in my own house. I did a backyard wedding, but I did a very big backyard wedding and I brought everything in. And if someone who doesn't like planning is getting married and they're thinking about a backyard wedding, don't do it. Because when you do a backyard wedding, you have to bring everything from the outside into your house. And you need so many vendors. As when you go to a venue, everyone already has everything. You just tell them, I want to get married here, and they do it for you. They tell you who you need to hire, everything. So I was trying to bring everything into my own space. And it was such an anxious moment. And then my wedding day was like a breath. Like I remember I woke up and I said, this day, anxiety does not exist. I have a conscious choice of enjoying the day or hating it. So I was like, I don't care if things go wrong. I'm just going to enjoy. And the entire day I had so much fun. I remember it as one of the happiest days of my life, literally.
Wow.
And all the vendors were telling me, like, you're one of the most relaxed brides we ever seen. Like, we just love your energy. I was like, I wish you could have seen me tomorrow because that was so different. Like, not tomorrow, sorry, yesterday.
Yesterday,
Because
yeah.
that was so different. But everyone, even the wedding planner, she was like, how can you be so chill? How you don't care if we're running late? I'm like, I'm choosing to be happy today. Like I was so stressed for
Wow, what a
something,
message in
and
that.
I'm
I know
choosing
that
to be
wasn't our
happy.
topic that you were going to lead into, but
Yeah.
whoa.
And I remember the wedding ended, and I'm laying in bed with my husband, and I tell him all the stress that I went through was worth it because this literally was one of the happiest days I've ever experienced.
Wow.
And he was like, I agree. And I remember we were laughing in bed because it was so much fun for us. But yeah, I think that's why that part of the year for me happened so fast. And then once the wedding ended, it was like picking up again with my life. Like I put everything on pause for that. And that's why I feel like something from so far away. And then during the rest of the year, it was like going back into my life, going back into the self, going back into my daily, everyday routines.
Wow.
And
So it
with
really consumed you, you're saying,
it
because of
did.
the way that you chose.
I kind of paused my life to do all of this. I did. But now that I think of it, it was like a conscious decision. I wanted to be fully involved in all the planning, right? And laying all of this out, this is how I want to talk. I want to bring in the topic that I prepared for today.
Oh, good.
It's called the inner winter. And this was like some information that came to me through magic. Like it was, I saw an ad of this girl talking about how to up your business. And I was like, I'm gonna, like, she was doing a webinar. So I was like, I'm gonna go in. I'm so sad I cannot remember the name of the girl. So I go into the webinar and she gives me this information that it was so eye-opening for me because I've been working for a lot of years trying to understand how our own nature as human beings is related to the nature of the earth and how we're one with the earth and every single
Mm.
thing of existence, right? But when this girl explained everything to me, I was shocked. And for this example and for this explanation, I'm going to use more a woman's body or who a woman is. We basically, you know, this, every one of us as women, we have a menstrual cycle that we go through every month, at least for 30 or 40 years of our lives. We go through the menstrual cycle. So what I learned with this woman is how this menstrual cycle is divided into phases. And these phases feel like the same, feel like I forgot the word in English. I have it in Spanish, like the stations. How do you call it? The seasons. They
Yeah.
feel like the seasons that the same earth goes through. So when you can understand what each of these phases bring into your life, and you can relate it to nature, you
Mm,
can use that energy in your favor.
mm, mm.
So
Are you
I'm
talking about like the 4 weeks in between? Like, are you
yes,
talking about the menstrual cycle as
phases.
4 weeks of a 28-day window?
Yeah, it is actually not specifically like each one of them is like a week, but it's amazing because us as women, first we go through the follicular phase, which is right after a period where we're preparing ourselves to release the eggs, basically. During the follicular phase, which is like 14 months, we can feel, I mean 14 days, we can feel very spring. Like
Yeah.
everything is growing inside us, everything is nurturing inside us. And then we go to the ovulation, which is like the moment when women really feel like they're shining. Like even their face shines, their hair shines, they feel beautiful, they look beautiful even to others. Like people, like if you were actually paying attention to someone you see in your everyday life, you can notice the difference, right? And us as women, we can notice it. And that's like the summer, which is that moment when we're all happy. Like I remember my summers. Every time it's the summer, I go out so much. Like I'm hanging out every day in here during the summer. It gets dark around 10 p.m. So like I'm always out and I'm laughing and I'm having fun. And then that's the ovulation, which lasts like 1 to 3 or 4 days. And then we get into the luteal phase, which is when everything is getting prepared to go into darkness, and you really feel the darkness come over you. And it's that time of when women really feel like they're upset, like there's something missing, like they feel the sadness, and we can relate that darkness to like
Mm,
November, October,
mm.
beginning of December. We feel the darkness sometimes. We even have the shortest day of the year. We just passed that day, the winter solstice, right?
Yes.
And it makes sense. Like if you think when you're in that phase as a woman, you're actually feeling down. And then when you're in that phase in the earth, you feel down. And it gives me the understanding of how, as beings, we are completely connected with the earth. And we're like a little earth going around. We're an entire world turning around in life, going through
Wow.
all of these phases every month. And if we are in life, when it hits the fall, when it hits autumn, we like go inside the house, we cover ourselves. We should do that to ourselves too when we're going through these phases. We're so used to go, 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 go. And when you learn to differentiate all of these things, you can start, just as we work our life through the seasons, like in the summer, we pick up the fruits and then we prepare for the winter. And then in the spring, we start nurturing and planting seeds. We could do that on every month. And then, like, let's say the month starts for me, and I'll be like, I'm going to start planning for the month, and I'm going to reach out to these people for work, and I'm going to start doing this and that. And then if I have to go on a talk, if I have to share something, I'm going to put it in my summer, when it's my ovulation phase, because it's when I'm shining. And then during the luteal phase, where everything's more darkness, it's a very good time to speak the truth,
Mm.
to let everything that is inside you come out, because we don't sugarcoat things. We say them as we feel them. And then we have the moment when the menstrual cycle starts, when we start bleeding, and that's the inner winter.
Mm.
What do we do when we reach the inner winter? Like, at least for me, I'm like, I'm gonna get in bed. I don't want to talk to me. I'm just gonna watch Netflix and have some chips. and a bar of Kinder Bueno, and that's it. That's all I do when I'm in my inner winter. So we tend to get upset at ourselves for getting sad during the winter.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
so many people go through winter depression, when in reality, we are like a little version of the earth. And when we go through this inner winter, we're a little bit more compassionate to ourselves. We like we bring the warm pads, we get in bed, we take a longer nap. Why are we trying to push ourselves during the winter when we're in this moment of giving me time, of recharging, of letting parts of myself die? Because that's actually what happens during that stage. Everything that doesn't work for you anymore, you let it die because you're about to restart during the spring.
And if you don't do the pause, if you don't, if you don't surrender to the cadence of the inner
Yeah.
season, then you miss, you go, 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 you push, 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 you find something wrong with yourself that you crave this other thing in you, and then you miss the opportunity of releasing and letting go, is
Exactly.
what I'm hearing you say.
Basically, yeah, that's it. You get an opportunity every month and you get it every year. One is in a personal level to be able to reborn, to grow from everything you're going through. And then you get it during the year to like to recreate your life, to
Yeah.
turn it into whatever you want. It's a great time for
Wow.
going inside, for having deep thoughts, like what works for me and what doesn't. Like we are experiencing this life in a micro level in a micro level to a bigger level, which is when we are experiencing the seasons.
And what just came to me, because I've never contemplated this, so this is all like,
I'm telling you, it's like very mind opening.
yeah, what just came to me is that we have a northern hemisphere and a southern hemisphere. And so the collective never stops evolving because the southern hemisphere is in the summer when the northern hemisphere is in the winter.
And it's like we're two polarities that complement each other, right?
Absolutely. One is releasing, the other is,
Is giving.
yes, planting, harvesting. So interesting.
There's so many, like it changed my view of how I feel in the winter. This is the first year that I've been like, it's the winter and I'm just gonna make hot cocoa and like lay on the couch, maybe work from the couch, maybe not work so much. But like I'm being way more compassionate with myself because I feel like we resist. The world tells us to resist. It's telling us like you gotta keep working, you gotta keep
Yes.
achieving, you gotta keep doing. When if you think 1,000 years ago, people were actually like going inside, uniting. And I think that's very important. Like it's no coincidence that in the winter is when we unite as humanity. Like we choose to be home. We
Yeah.
choose to be with our loved ones. Because when you're feeling that darkness, you want to be health. You want to feel love.
Hmm.
So understanding this for me is like hacking the sadness. It's not actually sadness. Is a really it can feel like sadness, of course. Everyone is allowed to feel what they want to feel. But you can also view it as a releasing point.
Grief has been a theme this year. Every talk so far has involved some level of conversation around grief. And this just came to me that
Well,
you have that feeling of sadness. On some level, there's a grieving of something that had to be let go of.
and grieving is inevitable,
Yes.
part of our human nature.
As long as we're evolving, we
Yeah.
have to shed something.
And maybe at some point it's gonna be like grieving something very small. And as you evolve, you grieve different things because you're constantly moving into a bigger self.
Yes.
But as soon as you accept that grieving is going to come,
Yeah.
releasing is going to come, the intention that you have when you face these things It's completely different.
Yeah, the perspective of grieving being releasing
Mhm.
and a necessary component of advancing.
Exactly.
That I don't know, it reframes something there. You know, the earth, like when you think of the trees that drop their leaves, that shed their leaves,
Exactly.
maybe that's a grief, maybe that's a crying, right? But it's a necessary part of that season in order to go dormant and survive the winter to then be
Beautiful.
reborn in the spring.
And like I started experiencing the four seasons, and I remember I told you this 3 years ago when I moved here, when I moved to Canada, because I'm from Mexico, right? And Mexico, we have forever summer. I'm from Cancun, so we have forever summer. And in the winter, when I used to look at the trees, I was like, how are they going to grow leaves again? I was like, this must be a joke. Like I see them and they're fully gone. They're fully gone. But then the spring comes, and it was so exciting for me
Yeah.
to see how a tiny leaf will start coming out, and then another one, and then another one. For
Yes.
me, the spring, it's such a marvelous time. It is like slow, but it feels so pretty. It's like, yes, it's happening again.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And
And
you're
it,
noticing it with fresh eyes, where
yeah,
someone who's like lived through the seasons, it's just, oh yeah, it's just, oh yeah.
that
But
happens.
no, it's like intentional, again, intentionality, like intentionally noticing
Exactly. And when you're
changes.
conscious about this in the world and this in your own body, it's just that intention that comes into every action in each one of the seasons. And as I'm saying, I'm letting myself go this winter. I'm not setting rules for myself of you gotta be this productive and you gotta do this and that and blah blah blah. I'm just like, I wanna lay in the couch on the couch and watch this all.
It's interesting because I know you and I know how productive you are, but this is what I would say about you anyways. You've always impressed me with your capacity to what seems to be effortlessly and yet intensively accomplish things in very small windows of time.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, you do. You do. Yeah. When you could, because I think it's the intentionality. It's like, so if you're going to feast on Netflix, you're intentionally doing that.
Exactly.
And
I'm
if
like,
you're
I'm
going
gonna have
to
fun with this.
apply yourself, right? You're intentional and you're not guilty over here or feeling like you should be. No, no, you're just intentionally present.
But it's important because before I used to get so upset, like, why am I eating so many carbs during this time? Like I should be healthy all the time and like having my salads. But on those cold months, you need it. Like there's studies, for example, when women are on their period, they actually need to have chocolate. They need it because that helps them with the process of letting go. It helps your body, and your body craves the sugar. It's the same on the winter, like the season winter, because we need those things to keep our bodies warm. We need them to give us energy through the moments where there's no sun, no sunlight coming out,
And comfort.
and comfort. Exactly. So when you set that intention, I'm going to give myself the comfort. I'm going to give myself the carbs and the hot cocoa. You turn that inner winter into a very loving time.
Mm.
And I feel like when we don't give ourselves those things, when we don't embrace the inner winter and the outer winter, that's when we face the depression or a stronger grief, even.
Mhm. So if someone is experiencing that they recognize, well, I am depressed, or can you speak to that? Like what your recommendation would be to some steps to release that?
Well, the first thing that I want to say is like everyone, whatever they're feeling, there's a reason for all of that. There is always a deeper meaning that you can go through and you can explore. But my biggest advice is self compassion. Like the denial of it, it should make, for me, it makes it worse. Denying it makes it worse. But just saying, like, I'm sad, I'm angry, I'm feeling lonely, to talk about it and to be able to give you yourself compassion, to give you that inner hug, saying, I'm recognizing I'm feeling all of this. And then there's always the ask for help. Looking for help with other people. I know sometimes it's hard because we feel like we don't have anyone. That happened to me when I moved here. I didn't have friends. Like I did new people, but I didn't feel like I had friends. And recognizing that out loud was very hard for me because a part of myself wanted to say, I don't need anyone. I don't need friends. I'm doing fine and I'm picking myself up and I'm pushing myself. But just saying these things out loud, like I need a best friend. I need someone to hug. I need someone to cry with. Just saying it out loud gives it a space to exist and a space to hold yourself, to give you that love. And when you say it out loud, I'm a firm believer of saying out loud because it's like calling to the divine, saying, I don't have this and I want it. Even if you don't go and say it to someone else, you're saying it to the divine. And that this is just how I like to think things are. And when you say it to the divine, a space opens up for you to start finding that. And of course, every manifestation, everything that you say to the world needs to be accompanied, like needs to have as their company the action. Like you need to start doing it, right? So it's not just I feel so lonely and you just scream it at the fireplace and that's it. You can do it that way, of course. But then what can I do to not feel so lonely? Maybe I go knock on my neighbor's door and be like, hey, do you want to go out for tea? Do you want to come over and have a cup of tea? Like lately I've been trying to become very close to my neighbors. So I pay them visits and we talk and we have fun, or I invite them over and we played games. So those type of conscious, intentional actions are definitely going to help you. But I think the first thing is bringing the compassion into the feeling. The compassion into the feeling. And I know not everyone, it's very big on going to therapy. I am. That's always my first advice. Like there's someone who can help you understand this from a more from another perspective. But if you're not so much into all of that, push yourself to talk to others, push yourself to bring connections into your life, and always the compassion. You don't have to be the most productive on it, but just give your time to heal and to do it slow and do it step by step. I think that'll be my advice.
That's wonderful advice.
Yeah. But thank you, Jeannie, for having me here. I'm glad you find this inner winter as fascinating as I do.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I absolutely do.
Yeah, it was very eye-opening for me.
Yeah, I really, you've offered a perspective that not only resonates, I feel like there's a compounding effect that I'm experiencing because it resonated and then boom, boom. It's like it's a build out. So
And
that's
I feel
always that always tells me that there's a lot of truth in it when that occurs.
that is so true. Yeah. And I feel like us as women, we can understand it on a deeper level because it's true, right? Like I feel like every month I go through an inner winter. I'm on my inner winter. And then when I bring it into the cosmos, into the earth, it makes even more sense.
Mm.
And it's the moment where we collectively, the winter, we're going through it. And we can hold ourselves. We can be with each other during this winter.
I appreciate you bringing this to our into our awareness, those that are listening, those that are gleaning, because awareness is the beginning of the rebirth, I think, because we never see when awareness, when that light bulb is turned on, I feel like everything is illuminated in a different way. And then it's kind of an adventure to
You,
apply it in the time that it presents itself to be used.
you're totally right. Because sometimes we're doing it, but we don't realize it. And then when you start thinking about what did I did last winter, what did did last summer, and then you start like
Or
remembering
last
all the
month, if
things
you're
we were
talking
leaving on.
cycle, you know,
Exactly. So we're constantly evolving.
it's beautiful.
It is.
Well, I know I'm going to see you and talk to you before next year, but I will look forward to next year on seeing what this year has brought.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you for creating this space for a lot of people to connect. It is an honor, as always, to be here, and I'm looking forward to our conversation next year as well.
Thank you. Well, we're gonna end here. So thank you, Sophia.
Thanks to you too.